It did?
Hi, I think we're recording.
We are. It's how many times have we had to do this and we still like can't quite get it right?
Isn't it cute how every time we start, we're like, hi,
Well, because
hey,
we're
are we recording? I think we are.
constantly amazed that we actually got it done, which hasn't changed from April at all.
Whatever. Here we are. And you know what? It's fair to say because nothing has changed. We thought it's 2021. We were all looking to like open the door on 2021 and say, yay, but everything's still crazy. The world is still crazy.
Crazy, crazy week.
Huh?
A crazy, crazy week. But I don't think any of us want to talk about it anymore.
No, but what's good news is that we're also still crazy. I'm still, I'll speak for myself. I'm still crazy.
Crazy in hopefully a more positive way than I think what we're alluding to, but that's okay.
So here we are. I, as some of you know, am Megan Holmes. I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, sitting in my shop, the Needlepoint Clubhouse. And this is my partner in crime, Melissa McLeod, sitting in, I'm assuming, chilly, snowy.
I went to the airport. It's not snowy. Everything's melted, but we're in Detroit, so it's definitely chilly. And it's darker here than it is there. I can see a pretty blue sky. I mean, it's like dusky there, but we're dark here. So
it's dusky. Yeah. So Melissa McLeod, the Wool and the Floss in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And here we are. We are what we have kind of coined as the Pointing It Out podcast team. Together, we do this podcast weekly. It's all about needlepoint and sometimes about our crazy lives as well. And for whatever reason, you all keep tuning back in and we love it. And so here we are, the start of a new year. And like we said, it's crazy. And we are going to attempt to help make things feel less crazy in our needlepoint world. Is that kind of where we're going with this, I guess?
There's lots of different personality types that want to do things totally OCD. And maybe I shouldn't use that term because I know it's a proper medical term, but
a little more lined up, a little more organized, a little more, planned out. Sure.
Type A, I don't always succeed in the plans I make, but you can't hit a goal if you don't plan for it. So that's my attitude anyways. But other people fly by their seat of their pants, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially in your hobby world. So
well, that's the truth. And so for me, needlepoint has been fun, but it's also been my work and my like life now, it feels like. But as organized as I try to be, I don't want to organize myself so much in my happy place that I feel like constricted by it. So
it's work for you.
Yes. And so, but I also feel like I'm a happier person. I think we're all happier people if we have either goals or at least some sort of semblance of organization, whatever that looks like, right? So, even if you say to yourself, gosh, it's January, let me just look out and see what the rest of the year is going to look like. Just kind of mentally come up with some goals. But we've kind of come up with a few ways to sort of think about what you got and what you're doing. And so, yeah.
So, can I show you my new magic book?
Oh gosh, yeah.
So this is where all the magic happens. So this doesn't look. Oops, my bracelet just fell off.
So is that some craft paper?
This is. I think it's waxed something. I should know because we sell these.
Oh.
They're supposed to be a knitting thing. So they're from Coco Knits, and it's supposed to be to plan all your knitting stuff. Okay. And they always do like really earth-friendly things. So everything's like, very, very down to earth and,
it's made out of lamb's wool and bamboo and
things like that. So this is some sort of waxed paper. If my yard manager were here, she could tell me. Liz knows all. But she bought these for the shop and I'm like, wait a minute, I need one of those because as you know, I don't know if everybody else knows this about me, I love more than anything making a list and then checking things off of the list. Like it makes me feel like I actually got something done. Sometimes even on my calendar, I'll make the list item and check it off after I've already finished it, just to know that I got something
done. That. I can understand that. I'm with you on that. But the other thing you do is like make a list and then like stick to it every single time. And I'm like, I've lost the list by the second time I do something.
Well, so in the realm of not losing the list, I have all these little like things that I use. So in this, and this does tie into needlepoint, I promise. In my little book, so I'm a big fan of these Silk and Sonder planners. So this is my planner for the month. So this is just my regular planner like we all have. This
That's
is
really
just,
cute. So you've just kind of like looped it into a little piece of something in the bind.
actually, this is kind of fun. This thing, I think you noticed that this is blue on the outside, but it comes with a thing to hold it shut. And then it's got kind of like these little straps on the inside. And these I could have also changed to blue, but I was too lazy. So they have blue and orange and white, and they all come with it. I think there's one more color. I can't remember. There's 4 colors that come with it. Whatever. We're really, no one probably really cares about that.
Sure.
But I keep my regular planner, like the day-to-day old-fashioned planner, like stuck in the middle.
They
And
still
then,
make those, Melissa?
I'm sorry?
They still make those. You can still buy those things.
The
The
Silk and
regular
Sonder.
planners that they print out.
Yes. I love old-fashioned ones. You know what? When I went to,
I do too. I do too.
to an electronic planner, like, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, I never double booked myself, but I completely overbooked myself.
Ah.
I don't know how that happened. So anyways, I am a paper and pencil girl.
You know what? I'm totally giving you trouble. I am too.
I know.
I am too.
But we are a bit, I think, out of the norm, but I am analog all the way when it comes to my planner. So normally my little pencil goes in here. So I have my pencil, my planner, and then this pink book we'll spend a little bit of time with. This is my bullet journal, but it used to be my planner. Now it's just kind of become my needlepoint notebook. Ooh. So, and I use it very different. Like I know Carolyn Hedge Bears has her needlepoint notebook. There's nothing creative in this at all. Okay. These are my little lists that I love to live for. And then this little book happens to be where I keep all of our stuff for our pointing it out. So, yeah.
Gosh, I wish I had a central location for that. Maybe I should duly note it.
I didn't used to, and then I had a little bit here and a little bit there, and then I couldn't go back and find anything, and I was feeling very disorganized and stressed. So I spent some time and put everything into one spot, and it makes me happy.
I like it. Yeah. So now we know how Melissa organizes her life. So let's parse out needlepoint.
It translates to how I organize my needlepoint too.
I like it.
So, but I do love this little book. So it keeps everything together, and that's kind of how I function. Like things all need to be together in one spot, and then I can relax and enjoy. And because for my personality type, if I'm super organized, it creates time in my life.
Yeah.
By creating time in my life, guess what I can use with that time?
Needlepoint. It's kind of like those people that meal prep. I always wish I did it, but I just can't get it enough together. So the first step is creating a plan. So here we are.
Yeah. And I think then the next step is, for me, there's no point in planning your needlepoint if you don't have any time to stitch. So I think it's kind of important to talk about like how you can find time to stitch. Like some of our listeners might be retired and they have lots and lots and lots of time. Some of our listeners might be 28 years old, have an 80-hour-a-week job, might have a couple of kids. Like they're like, I like to talk and talk needlepoint and listen about needlepoint, but I can't actually find time to pick up a needle. So I've been in the younger set before. I'm not quite to the older set, but we can all aspire to that. And then there's probably a lot of people somewhere in the middle. So anyways, but I think that there's a lot of ways that you can really find time to stitch if you make a point of it. So
I think that's true. And so I think you might be getting to the point that like I'm kind of a late night person these days, which is sort of crazy, but like I put my kids to bed and then the house is quiet. And then I, except for January, I'm doing dry January. Usually I pour my glass of wine and sit and do my stitching and watch some TV. Now there's a woman that works for us that wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and we're all like, wait, what? But so she wakes up at 4:30, that's her time. And then she goes to bed at like 9. Whereas I'm late night stitching and then I get up a little bit later than 4:30. But yeah.
I've never been a morning person, but I've heard many people say, either start your day out stitching or end your day stitching. I know for most stitchers, if they find a little bit of time every day, even if it's 10 minutes, that they're just calmer and that this is such a therapeutic thing for most people, that finding that time brings so much more time into their lives because they're less stressed.
Well, it clears your head. Yeah. And, I just said morning and evening, but I think I was just on one of the Facebook groups or something, and somebody was talking about a 12:30 Eastern or a 11:30 Eastern time, and I thought, what a great idea, people stitching during lunch.
Right.
Because that would be a nice way to kind of like take a break, collect your thoughts, and because it's weird how mind clearing it is when you actually just like focus on like a repetitive motion, or you don't think about what's in your head, you know?
Well, and I think too, if you're working, whatever your work is, whether it's taking care of kids, taking care of somebody older, working for a paycheck, whatever that work is for you, if you sit down to have lunch, it's really easy to have that pad of paper next to you, making your like, what am I going to do? If you sit down and like eat your lunch and say, okay, I'm going to maybe gobble my lunch and then I'm going to sit down and stitch for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Love that.
you know, like just, it keeps your hands busy and hopefully calms your mind. So
Love
I think
that.
one thing I think we're both alluding to is making a commitment to yourself. Like, I think last year people were saying stitch for 20 minutes a day in 2020. Well, maybe now find 21 minutes every day. And really, how hard is that? You know?
Yeah, and it's very easy. You know, I have the Wow Wednesday alarm set, and it goes, "Wah, wah," and everyone's like, what's that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get ready to get. So it would be very easy to set a recurring alarm to remind yourself. And if you can do it, you can do it. And if you can't, you can't. But
you schedule things, they happen. If you don't schedule them, they don't. And I know for myself, I can get home from work lately. I've been working very crazy hours. Sometimes I'm not home till 10 o'clock at night. And I can sit down and I can fool around on my phone for 20 minutes and get nothing done and feel more stressed. Or I can walk into my dining room where I leave my stitching out. And that's another thing that I think is super important. If you have a space in your house, whether it's like I'm right now talking to you guys working on a little table that's maybe 30 inches by 20 inches. You don't need a ton of space. If you have one spot that you can leave your stitching either out or very easy to pull out, you can easily sit down and stitch even if it's only for 15 minutes.
yeah, you know, so I sit in the same spot all the time too. And right now it's kind of a centrally located spot in our house, which isn't ideal because the dog ate a skein of bread the other day that I was almost finished with the project. Yes, that was a bummer. But I'm actually thinking about getting a little magazine rack. I like vintage or bamboo or wicker or something. I don't know, because I just like that stuff. But like setting that, and then I have a bag with my tools, and I have usually a bag or two of different projects. My stand is there, my light's there, and then I can like easily sort of plop down for 20 minutes or 30 or 5 or whatever it is and have all my stuff right there ready to go. Whereas it seems like if I weren't that organized or if I didn't always have a spot to sit, then I would be like taking that 10 minutes just to pull all the stuff together out of my bag here and out of my bag there.
Because I think when I was younger, I used to I've relaxed in my older years, which is really funny because people don't really think of me as relaxed, but I really have. And I used to like put everything away. Everything went in like in its bag and then on the shelf in the closet with the door closed. Well, yeah, by the time you pull out all that stuff, you've wasted all your stitching time. So
well, I think there's a way to make things look organized, like in your home.
It should be like a disaster, but
yeah, it doesn't have to be like needles sitting in places, but I have like a little, I should have like even brought it. I have a little glass and gold like container that actually looks kind of pretty, and I just leave it on a table, and that's my work container, and that's right behind me on this little like sofa table. And then, you know, so really everything I have and need is within, as you said, like arm's reach, you know?
Right.
And we did a podcast about having a tool bag. So hopefully people have at least thought about having a pair of scissors, a pair of glasses, your needle, like two different sizes of needles, and like a spot. In addition to having some of those parts and pieces in your other project bags, but then you're kind of just like set up and ready to go, you know? So yeah.
So I think if you commit to yourself that you're going to find some time every day, even if it's a very short amount of time, if you have a dedicated spot, that's going to go a long way. The other thing that is really funny, I binge watch shows while I stitch.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, wait, but how can you watch the show when you're stitching? So, and I don't know if it's because I'm blind in one eye. I know I've talked about that before, but I really figured out that if you watch a show for about 5 minutes, your ear learns everybody's voices.
Oh, interesting.
So for the most part, then after that, you really don't have to watch. You know what I mean? You can kind of just listen and look up from time to time. I also tend to watch I sit at a table. So I either watch on my laptop or on an iPad. So
Okay.
it's really easy to pause and go back. Now, I know that a lot of people probably maybe are watching with their significant other or their children or their parents or whoever their, co-livers are.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that doesn't happen in my house. My husband and I don't like the same kind of TV. It doesn't really matter. But bottom line is you learn those voices really quickly. So you can, I've gotten a whole project done and watched a whole season of something because, you don't really have to look.
Well,
So,
and you can also like if you're like me and you use like Netflix or one of the like subscription series, you can rewatch it, and it's like, yay, this is a whole new, and like I pick up things that I missed the last time. So
for sure. And I think the other thing is, I think the first time I heard this term was from Oprah. Oprah would talk about found time. And her definition of found time is that you could be in the grocery store line, which maybe doesn't work with needlepoint, but you're in a line somewhere, or you're waiting in your car, you're waiting in a doctor's office, and you can either get all wound up and be annoyed that whatever situation is wasting your time, or you can have a
yes,
project in your purse or a project in your car, and then you can be like,
yes,
awesome, now I have 20 minutes guilt-free to stitch.
amen.
I'm stuck here anyway, and you can enjoy that time, and you turn a negative into a
And for me, it's usually a belt because it's all rolled up and it's all
really
kind
good
of
one.
stitching. It's easy stitching. It's not real thoughtful stitching. It's for me, I do usually have like a pair of glasses or something nearby that I'm like, like because I have to be able to see it. But yeah, I mean, you can have a quick little like easy 13 count ornament or just something. You're right. Like all you need is a needle and thread, and you can even have one of those little cutters like on your key fob or a little pair of scissors. So yeah, you're right. I love that.
I have a bunch of those little
The snips.
yellow and green, those super snips.
Yeah,
They're like in a lot of my to-go bags. So
love
there's
that.
a to-go bag, and I like to use better glasses most of the time, but I do have a whole bunch of cheapo glasses that get thrown everywhere. They don't go in a case, whatever. They fit in the pinch. So
Yep.
so I do think that there's ways to find some stitching time. And if you take a few minutes of thoughtfulness, you can create that time, even no matter how busy you are.
Yeah, like anything can be a priority as long as you decide for it to be, right? So it's really just making your mind up to make it a priority.
And for most of us, dedicated stitching is part of our mental health.
Yes.
So
100%.
it is nothing that you need to feel guilty about. You should fully embrace it because, all those phrases, a happy wife makes for a happy life, a happy mom, whatever, we know what we're talking about. And not that there aren't male stitchers too, but I'm talking about me. I happen to be a wife, and so that's where I'm going to use this phrase. So I know there's all kinds of people that stitch. So you all deserve it. We all work hard at whatever it is we do, and we deserve that time for ourselves to make everybody around us will be much happier if they're happy.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
So that's that. So then once you've found your time, then for me, my personality type, if I have planned ahead with what it is I want to accomplish with that time,
Right.
then
There's that.
yeah, then I don't sit around and like waste that valuable stitching time. I can get right down to business and
So
relax.
I hope I'm not jumping ahead because you're so good at keeping us organized. Clearly, we've already established that. So last year, did you do 20 and 20? Were you planning to do 20 and 20? Was that like in your head, or did you like,
So,
how did you plan your year last year? And then I can tell you what I did. Oh.
magic book. This book started out in, let's see, 2018. So
Wow.
this year of this. Before 2018, I went through this crazy phase in my world of a spreadsheet. I decided at one point I wanted to make all these spreadsheets. I had a spreadsheet of how many projects I started and weren't.
Oh, all needlepoint spreadsheets. So this isn't like your budget,
No, this is all, we're just talking needlepoint, girlfriend.
I'm like, oh, good.
All
So you
that
did like
stuff.
your budget in a spreadsheet, you did your tasks, and you're like, no, all needlepoint.
All needlepoint we're talking about. There's other spreadsheets, but we're not gonna bother with those right now. So I had a spreadsheet of like literally with multiple pages of the canvases I owned that I hadn't started, the canvases I had started, the gifts I was going to make, and who was going to get them. So it was all on this magical spreadsheet. But what
Wow.
I found is if I was up stitching until midnight, I didn't want to go back to the computer to mark something down because that felt like work to me. Whereas
Okay.
writing it down in a cute little pink notebook didn't feel like work.
Well, wait a second. So were you keeping track of like what thread you used and what stitches you used and what spaces and all that kind of stuff? This was just projects. Okay. All right.
So to answer your
Because hold
question,
on, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because I feel extra pressure to really document like what I'm doing and think more about what I'm doing as a like business owner, a needlepoint business owner, than I do just like a hobbyist, you know? So I don't, anyway, that's why I'm asking these questions.
well, I'm a list maker. So your question was, has 20 and 20 ever been on your radar? So in 2018,
Thanks for bringing it back.
finished, you can't really see this, but I finished 24 needlepoint projects and 5 knitting projects.
And so do you write down like what the project is?
Yeah, so it says 2018 finished, and it's just like, a Christmas tree bell ornament and Santa, Springer Santa, wacky bird, unique NZ belt buckle, double-sided Santa. So away it goes. And so I kind of keep track. And I have this very good friend, Terry, that I've talked about before. And she and I tend to like go back and forth with, look what I finished, look what I'm working on, whatever. So, and then it led into something else that we'll get into. So yeah, so I finished 24 items in 2018, and I think 2019 was 26 and 5, and 2020 was no knitting things. Don't tell my knitting customers. I think I knit one thing.
Oops.
How that happened. But I finished 30 needlepoint projects. And I could go back if I wanted to. I do a lot of ornaments, as we've talked about. And I could go back and figure out like how many were pillows and, bigger projects and stuff too. But I just keep a list. And this list comes in really handy when you can't remember like what you made for your husband for Christmas. So
So the reason I ask that is because I really liked, so if we can all like scroll back in the memory to January 2020, where it was like 20 and 20, yay, like it feels like 100 million years ago. But I was like, you know what? I like that idea because I am a serial starter, as Melissa has taught me that term. I'm also one to like take on these massive projects because I'm like, I can stitch this no problem. So I've got all these started big things. And I'm not really an ornament stitcher. I aspire to be. But so I was like, this is cool. And I'm going to like kind of really keep track of what I'm doing. So I started my own Instagram page because instead of having the notebook that I would lose, I like to rely on other, which is ridiculous. I'm like relying on another company to like make sure there's a server out there for the rest of my life so that I have.
Instagram goes, you're screwed.
Exactly. But so I started my own, like the Gingham Stitcher, which won't surprise anybody, the Gingham Stitcher. And I took a photo of a whole like schlep of like things that I had. And I was like, oh, okay, this would be a great record. So I'm also a very visual person. And so I laid it all out and I was like, I'm going to do this. And 2 things happened. One, I didn't actually make it. So there's that. But I'm blaming that on the chaos of 2020. But what I did is a really good, sorry, I'm at the shop. And so that's going to have to ring for a second. But what I did that I loved is that once I finished it, I took a picture of it, posted it, and then I wrote like who the canvas was by, what threads I used. I didn't go as far as to say the stitches because usually you can kind of visualize that. And then what I intended to do with it. And so to me, that was like kind of this like awesome record. And I was like, did I do that this year? And I've literally gone back a couple of times, like scrolled back and was like, oh yeah, I did do that. Good for me. And I made it to, I think 16 or 15 or around there. So I don't feel too terrible about it, but a couple of them were pretty large projects. And so, but ironically, like I think maybe not ironically, 3 of them were almost full. I'm looking over here because my pig is over here. 3 of them were like almost all tent stitch, and it's just because of like the anxiety and the need for just anyway. So I guess I'm in some weird way kind of doing what you're doing, but a little more electronically, a little more publicly too. You can have a private Instagram, but
you were not alone in that. I know from, lots of people were posting like, this is what I plan to do this year. But I was talking to, and I forgot to talk about one other thing because this relates to this. The other thing, in order to find time to stitch, there's so many group needlepoint Zooms out there right now. So I was about to say, so my friend Alexandra, who I met because when my family was all up north, I was joining into Faison and Stitches. I was joining to Faison's, she does a Tuesday and Thursday night Zoom. And so I met Alexandra Tennant, and I was talking to her yesterday. So let me finish that little thought. Tons of Zoom things out there. I know if you're in the Facebook group NDLPT Nation, she's got a pinned post of all the different like Zoom things going on.
Cool.
Just like stitch-alongs that you just
So in some ways it acts as like that, like personal trainer. It's like the accountability factor. If you join a group, they're going to be there and they're going to be like, wait, where's Melissa tonight? So it would kind of be a forced way to do your stitching time.
And right now it's so hard for any of us to be social.
Be isolating.
The way to feel like, and that's when I was doing it all the time. My family was gone, and I would come home from work, and that was when you and I were working alone in our shops. We saw no one. I would go home to my empty house because my whole family was up at my lake house, which made complete sense for them, and I totally blessed the situation. But it was really lonely being at home by myself when I'm used to living with my family. And so I would hop on there because it was a really good way. I got a lot of stitching done, and I met a lot of great, fun, super stitchers, and it was really great. So Alexandra has become a friend from that, and she called the other day and she said, a friend of mine keeps asking me, how come every time on my needlepoint account I post that I finish these and I'm sending them off to the finisher, and that's her way of tracking when she sent them to her finisher.
What a great idea.
Because sometimes you finish stitching something and you're like, did I tuck it away? Or did I actually turn it in? Or, did I lose it? Is it just still there? All that sort of stuff. So,
and people might say, like, why aren't you just doing an album in your phone? I don't know, because there's also this accountability thing out there. So like if I put it out there and I say, I'm going to do 20 this year, and here's all the ones that I attempted to do. Of course, I looked back at the photo and mine morphed and changed. And also that's just kind of fun to see all the projects I intended to do and didn't. But just having that accountability out there too, to say like, hey, yay, look, I finished one, and like everyone's like, yay, what are you gonna do with it? And like that whole part is fun too. And that's this electronic social media, stuff. It seems weird, but it's also like I think it's good from like a cheerleader standpoint and an accountability standpoint. And anyway,
it's just fun to see what everybody else is working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they've got in their stash, and
absolutely.
I might not be the only one that has 20 ornaments sitting around. It's okay.
For sure. So I haven't yet done my so I don't know if you're getting to you were saying in your pink book that that's where and so I'm saying that's kind of how I've tracked on mine in 2020. I haven't completely determined what I'm going to track on. I think I'm probably going to just take another photo because I really enjoyed that personally, like going back to what I thought I might finish. But my problem is I haven't exactly determined what my goals are, like my general goals.
So last year I don't think I posted a picture, but I've got one of those what are they called? 31 is that the people who do the bags?
Yeah, the bags.
I have one of those open baskets that actually I bought from one of my customers. It's totally awesome with my monogram on it. And so I went through the stash, which is the closet of shame. But I love every second of it, and it totally brings me joy. So I call it the closet of shame, but I love having a stash. I have no guilt with it whatsoever. But and I had it long before I was a store owner, by the way. So anyway, I went through and I put all the things I was going to work on in this basket, and that's what I was going to focus on in 2020.
Oh, so you kind of physically, I like that too.
Yeah, but you know what? It didn't really work out so well for me.
Yeah.
I finished a lot of stuff, but I bet you if I went through this list, most of it wasn't in that basket because, that's why I'm a serial starter. Like I get something inspires me. I'm like, oh, that person's birthday's coming up. I should quick stitch something for them. Or, so to me, that's always evolving. So I probably won't do that again this year because I kind of felt like that was an epic fail for me. But that's okay.
The other thing that I'm going to try harder to do is instead of putting the pressure on myself to do some samples that we need for the shop, I'm just going to pay people.
Watch out. I hear your phone ringing now.
Well, I'm saying like I have some stitchers here in the store, my staff that I trust and that, will do some stitching for hire. But I guess I felt all this pressure to like be like, oh, we need this sample done because we're trying this new thread or we're going to have this class or we're going to do whatever. And like, as much as I love all of these things, again, like my personal time to stitch,
Right.
I want to stitch stuff that I really like am excited about. And not that I'm not excited about the shop samples, but like I have to like remember to like keep my mind in hobby mode. It's kind of just weird, but.
And I think that's why like the planning out what I'm going to stitch on January 1st didn't work for me because I want to
different things. That's my point.
that day. And we talked before, like you and I tend to be people that like to stitch in season. Like that's
on theme. I love to stitch on.
People want to stitch way ahead of time so it's back for that season. I'm like, I don't care when I get it back. I'm just like, I don't want to stitch Christmas right now. And by the way, here's another thought in terms of planning. I think everyone, and Alexandra even said this to me. So Alexandra planted this seed, even though I hadn't really thought about it in this way. She said, I'm only stitching ornaments from now until April. And I'm going to get all my gift ornaments done. She's like, because that finishing date, I know, and she's just Joe Stitcher. She's not a shop person or a finisher or anything like that. She's like, I know how early it's going to be this year. And I know you and I have talked about that. We haven't decided how early it's really going to be, but it's definitely going to be way earlier than September 1st. So she's very smartly already planning on getting any gift ornaments done January, February, March, which I fully commend, but I have to say I'm so over like stitching holiday, December holiday things right now. So
and also just like busting through quickly, you want to do this for some enjoyment too. So
yeah. So anyway, back to where we were. So yes, I have always done, so my goal isn't necessarily 20 and 20 or 21 and 21. It's to stitch as much or hopefully more than I did last year. Because no matter how much I stitch, it seems like it's not enough. So,
Shush, you're never going to get any knitting done. But you also, and I don't know if we're going there next, because once again, you're the MC, but you also have like this little thing with your friend Terry that helps motivate you. I love this.
So yeah, because that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about at the end too.
Okay, so are we saving that? Okay.
We'll say that for 1 second. So the other thing that I do is, so instead of coming up with like the 20 things I'm definitely going to do, I have this whole page that says stitching yarn goals 20 and 21 or 2021, sorry. And as many people watching might be aware, my shop is doing the club with the Patricia Stone Nativity.
Yes.
So those are little. They're really little, and you're going to get the equivalent of once a month. We're shipping them quarterly, but they're so little, it's really easy to say, oh, I'll get to that next week. I'll get to that next week. So one of my big goals is to stay up with that. And I am in love with this nativity. It's blue and white, and it's gorgeous, and it's fabulous stitch guides, blah, blah, blah. But I got to make sure I stay up with it because A, I love it, and I want to finish it this year. B, it unfortunately does come back to being a little bit of the shop owner thing. Like I owe it to my customers to stay up with it. I know if there's any snafus that are going to be hard, whatever. So that's on here. The other thing that I usually do, and is I have a section where it says finish 6 whips or work in process from 2020 or before.
Yes.
Because there's a lot that have been festering for a long time. The good news is I already finished 1 and I'm almost ready to finish my 2nd. So I finished Choose Happy, which I had almost finished.
Is it the 6th?
But they're works in process, remember? So they were like close to being done. I just had to
I feel like my works in progress have like 2 square inches stitched, and then it's like, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I have a lot of those too, but I was super close on my Choose Happy. Okay. And then I have, and this will go back to our thing with Terry and I had something from November of 19, not November of 20, November of 19.
Okay.
That I had finished. I'm really close, so I'm hoping I'll finish that this weekend. So, so I've got my little like, what's this ring light? Maybe is this ring light gonna go? There, I'm gonna turn that off. So I've got my 6 items here that I'm gonna hopefully fill in. So I've penciled in the one that I finished with the check mark. And then I've got the other one that's almost done. And then I'm gonna work on this Halloween March that I've been working on. It's from Connie Camp's store. I've probably been working on it 6 years.
Is that
maybe.
different from that bump in the night? Sorry, not to. There you go.
Yeah, I love to stitch Halloween. I hate Halloween, but I love to stitch Halloween. So yeah. So, and then I have a section here of gifts that I want to get done. So my friend Terry and I trade ornaments. And then each of my kids get an ornament at Christmas time. I have something I want to get done for my mom, something I want to get done for another one of my friends that lives here. And then I also last year bought 4 different little ornaments that had to do with 2020. Never stitched them. So if I'm ever going to stitch them, it better be now or it's ridiculous. So that's on here too. So, so yeah, so those are kind of my little things. And then my next page is very blank right now, but those will be all the things that I finished this year.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. I love that.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I track things. And it just makes me feel better about this. So
yeah, I'll go get a pretty notebook.
Yeah, it's just a little bullet journal. You said you had some nice planner that you bought at the dollar store, so you don't have to spend a lot, you know.
So yes, so when we were prepping for this, I have a 2021. I bought one last year at the dollar store. I bought one this year, and that's for me to like visually see the month and to put like big, like if it's someone's birthday or you know, like I don't have the weekly like piano lessons and blah blah blah. I have more of like this birthday, that vacation, if it ever happens. You know, stuff to kind of like look at the whole month, and then there's a little note thing, but it's really more for me to just flip through and kind of like
Going to Michigan to see Melissa.
I hope hopefully market. Yeah,
virtual not, we're doing it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's more of like just like kind of charting things out, but what I could do is have my own like calendar. I don't want a calendar for needlepoint. I don't want a calendar.
No, this is just, you know, it's a bullet journal.
I just want, right.
A blank paper I can do with whatever I want.
But again, I sort of really kind of like my Instagram thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
There's no right or wrong. It's whatever works.
Stay tuned. People are not going to sleep because they're going to wonder how in the world is Megan going to get organized.
I'm sure.
You don't know.
So back to trying to get stuff done. And again, like I don't want to make it work, but that's just who I am. Like I love to track things and to know that I'm moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great satisfaction in that, and it's a very healthy thing to do. I just have to, and like I said, I got a lot of satisfaction out of writing the who made the canvas, you know, blah blah blah. But we'll see.
So I, in my days of yore, used to be a scrapbooker. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about it.
Makes sense. I dabbled.
And so there's a lot of different like places that they'd have like these scrapbooking page challenges, and they'd give you like a little clue, and then you were supposed to do something with it. So I guess it was 3 years ago. I think this is the 3rd year I've been doing this. So I decided I was going to make up this little list of like clues just to force myself to do some of the things that have been sitting in my stash that never got stitched. Like I love
inspiring you at the moment.
But then they were just like kind of like. So I was up at my cottage, and it was the week between Christmas and New Year's, or New Year's weekend probably. And I happened to talk to my friend Terry, who used to live near me. Now she lives in Chicago, and she and I have stayed very good friends that I kid you not is 100% because of needlepoint. If it weren't for needlepoint, we probably would not have stuck because she's been gone over 10 years now, I think.
Oh,
the needlepoint has definitely been the glue that has kept us together. And so we were talking, and I said, oh, yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out, I'm planning my stitching for next year. And of course, she's kind of half laughing at me, but half like intrigued. And so I said, she was, let's do it together. So because we both love to stitch ornaments. We both have a big stash of ornaments. So we decided that we would make this list. And where's one? No, sorry. So the list, mine doesn't have numbers on it.
We're getting back to what I alluded to earlier, which this is your thing with Terry, right?
You guys call it Terry Melissa Ornament Challenge. So it has all these little clues on here.
I can't read them, but read a couple of them to us.
So you've had in your stash for 3 years. You have a complete kit for it. It's a gift for yourself. It's for someone outside of your immediate family. It has a rabbit on it. It's square in shape. Like all these things that could be applied to a lot of different things.
So I think you guys did this. Did you decide to give yourself a clue each month?
Yes. So she picked some of these silly little things. I picked some of the silly little things. Then we number them, and then whoever has the master list with the numbers on it, they're the list keeper, and the other one picks the numbers, so we can't
Oh,
manipulate.
fun.
But we still kind of manipulate it because, like, I think there was one that said has a vehicle on it, and I had nothing. There was nothing, and so I had a carousel horse. So I said to Terry,
Oh.
"Does this count as a vehicle?" She's like, "Sure does in my book." So yeah, Melissa Prince carousel horse that I've
Uh-huh.
a few times on Instagram.
Beautiful. Mhm.
And I've stitched that since then, and that had been sitting in my stash for like 4 years, and I loved it, but just never got around to it. So it made me get it done. So it's just a way for us to get one little thing done every month. Feel like you're accomplishing something, so you don't feel guilty about your stash. So yeah, and we've done this. This is now 2018, 2019. We're going to our 4th year.
That's so fun. I love that. And so you were telling me about that.
I was.
So related to.
So at one point, Terry was telling me, well, we should make this, you should do something with this with your shop. Like, I think this would be really great for other people to do. But this was kind of back to, well, I don't want to make it into work.
Right.
So to me, the wool and the floss is work, but pointing it out isn't work.
Yeah, pointing it out is
fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we're not
Yes.
worrying about paying any bills here. Like, you know, our big expense is our $14 a month Zoom thing that we joke about all the
We're
time.
still trying to learn how to pay for.
No, whatever. So this isn't real work to me. This is fun. So that's what led you and I'm just double. Oh, wait, we forgot to talk one thing. The other thing that we have that Terry, that I found out about, that I told Terry about, is there's an app. We'll see if you can see it on my phone.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about this and I didn't search it.
So because I am a serial starter,
Uh-huh.
I have a lot of projects going on, and sometimes I sit down and my stitching might be out, but I might have 10 projects around me, and I sit there and I go, oh, should I work on that? Or should I work on that? Or should I work on that? And then I waste all my time not doing anything because I'm sitting there full of indecision.
I like to call that analysis paralysis.
That is
And it
exactly.
happens to me a lot.
So I had saw on Needlepoint Nation, I think Elizabeth Hurd was the first one who posted about it. I know she's a big poster, so if people are Needlepoint Nation people.
And you're talking about needlepoint, not NDLPT Nation.
The kind of the original one. And so she talked about this app called Tiny Decisions.
Tiny decisions.
Yeah. So see how this is a little, you see it looks like a little like.
Oh, stop it.
Isn't that cute? So you go into the beginning of it and you set up, so at this point in time, I haven't been using this recently, so I'm
You must not be having trouble making decisions. Isn't that great?
Well, no, I'm proud to say that most of the things that are listed on here, so you enter all your different things. So mine says Cafe du Monde, which that project's done.
Is there one? I love that place.
That one's done. Moose, we just talked about the Moose, the November 19th one. It's almost done. Right, it's done. Mom's
Moose is getting
is done. Melissa Word Ornament's done. Bumble Shawl, epic fail. See, that's a knitting thing. Epic fail. Sorry. Halloween March, remember that one I just talked about? That's on here. And Chanel, that's done. But in any event, what you do with this is mine says,
cool. You press the button when it spins.
work on. So then you press the button and it spins, and wherever it stops, that's what you work on. And you can decide you're going to work on, that's what you're going to work on that day or that week, like whatever.
So fun. So you have any idea how many things you can add to this?
I don't know if there's a limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 9 on here before. I know I've had more on this. And then so now, since I haven't used this in a while, actually,
So
and I think
fun.
it's super fun because it's like, you know,
Super fun. I love it.
Wheel of Fortune. Boom, away it goes.
Yeah. What is my destiny tonight?
Yeah, so then you can, so now it says to work on a Melissa Word ornament. So, but you can reset your wheel. I can't remember how you do it, but anyway.
I just figured it out. It's up in the upper right. Yeah, you can add a new,
put in your new descriptions, whatever.
add a new decision. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, I think that's like a silly little thing, but you know, my whole like challenge with Terry is kind of a silly little thing, but it brings me joy. So I'm a little bit of a nerd. Those, my children can attest to that, but I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable in my own skin.
We love nerds.
So that led you and I, because you and I have been talking about, we should do something like 21 and 21, but we didn't want to like
But we knew Megan would fail at that because she couldn't even do 20 and 20. So we thought,
Like finishing 21 projects could be a lot of pressure. But I think so. What I think we ended up doing, and we created this little sheet, and we're going to put this on. I think
yeah,
we'll
my
have it
printer didn't work.
Instagram page, and then we can put it on your website and my website. I think, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's PDF. And so we called it the Pointing It Out Podcast 21 in 21 Challenge. And so there's 21 different things in here. Do you want to walk through these? Since we have time, I have no idea how long we've been chatting.
Yeah, I think so. Just, I think quickly, because I think what the point is that we hope to kind of flesh this out throughout the year and kind of walk through it a little bit. But yeah, I think you should at least
sideline
maybe.
Yeah, we'll have some sideline activities that'll go along with some of these. But you're not forced into a box. It's not like in January you have to do this. There's 20 things that, I don't know, we didn't discuss if there's any sort of prize at the end. I think maybe the prize is just the camaraderie of doing it, but I don't know.
But I love a good party and I love a good prize. So
and I've got an idea. We haven't talked about that, but I've got an idea. So I have a feeling that maybe if you finish it, maybe it puts you into a drawing of some sort.
Love it.
Anyway,
there's even bonus points.
But there'll be the camaraderie along the way. There'll be some activities that go along with it. And yeah, we'll figure out a prize for the end.
I think we'll probably do hashtags so we can see what so people can hashtag us. So like PIO 2121 or something like that. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get our together before plus more information. But so we just came up with a bunch of different things and they're kind of all over the place. So the first one that popped out of my mouth was organizing your threads. Because that's something that I do at the beginning of every year. And I think we could probably have a whole podcast on how to organize your stash for those of us that have been at this a while. If you're a newer stitcher, maybe a stash organization isn't a thing, but everyone still has some threads. So organizing your threads, Stitch with a Bestie, that was also one that came out. Because there's lots of ways to stitch with your bestie right now.
Yes, stitch clubs aren't happening, but I call Melissa at about 7 o'clock on Saturday and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, well, nothing, like as per usual. And I'm like, okay, in 45 minutes, my kids will be asleep. Hop on FaceTime. We typically stitch together on Saturday night. So yeah, it's rather easy to do.
We're both in the situation where our husbands go to bed early and we're late nighters. So we,
either that or else I find another spot in my house to be.
That's true. That too. And then we've got explore and use a darning stitch. And we might flesh that out a little deeper. Use three-dimensional embellishments. Knot it up because there's lots of different knot ups. I know. Stop. I'm gonna get you to love embellishments. I am because they're my thing.
Okay.
The knots out there. Megan. Well, actually, Megan kind of came up with this, but I've got two gals in my shop that have talked about this. So she coined it Stitch a Mystery Kit.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of is in the realm that because shops have been closed and people don't have local shops, whatever, we as shop owners kit canvases for people all the time. Like we look at their canvas, we pull all the threads, we note a couple little quickie ideas, if they don't pay for a stitch, whatever. And we keep thinking, God, wouldn't it be so fun if someone did this for us? And I think you mentioned it doesn't have to be go out and buy everything.
It could be your mom kitting something out of her stash for you to do. It could be
someone's kitting it out of your own stash for you. And coming up with maybe some different ideas than you would come up with. So I thought that was really fun.
I think maybe I'll have you kit one for me.
I know, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
We should do that. Let's do that one month. Okay, that's planned.
Well,
we have to because you and I have to do all this too. So that's how we're doing ours. You and I are kidding each other.
I forgot that this is what's going to get me organized.
It is. And it's going to give you some fun things. And when you're like losing your mojo and you need like something to like kind of get you going again, pick something off the list. And there's little structure with this, which is what I like about it.
Me too.
Items, and some are going to be really easy for some people. Some are going to be more challenging because we're all different. So use your stitch book library. I know I'm very guilty of, I love stitch books, love them, but some of them kind of get stuck to the back of the shelf, not for any reason, they just kind of get lonely and forgotten. So
I think it's also, maybe we forgot the word, also like assess your stitch book library. Like, what do I have? What would help add to my, what do I not have in this, or what do I need, or do I want to add an electronic version or whatever. So yeah.
Right. Stitch a non-holiday piece, because I think there's a lot of people out there that kind of get like stuck in the rut of making an ornament for all of their grandchildren or their children or whatever.
So making Easter things or making Valentine things. Yeah.
Utilizing ribbon work, which is way easier than it sounds like, as I've helped Megan through. Adding a border to your piece. So like I'm a big fan of those Betsy boxes and Laura boxes, and they're set sizes. So if you have a 4-inch ornament and you want to put it into a 5x5, feels like, oh, well, that's not going to fit. Well, guess what? If you can add a border, away you go. So it gives you some options.
Yep.
Teach a friend to stitch, which I think is super important right now. And you, as we can see, you don't have to be together to do it. Hopefully by the end of the year, you can be together to do it, but we could do it here.
Yep.
Relax and unwind with a tent. Stitch.
Not in a tent. I don't like to camp.
I hate to
Tent stitches.
So yeah, and for many of us, we love to do decorative stitches, and sometimes we kind of forget that the good old basket weave is just.
Well, I think I even have some employees that are like, oh, basket weave. And I'm like, no, embrace it. Love it. It's great. There's reasons for it.
For sure. Take a class, and we've got some ideas on that, so stay tuned. Finish a work in progress. So I suppose there's a couple of people that might need a kitchen pass if they start stitching in 21. They won't have any works in progress from last year, but I guess it doesn't have to be from last year. It just has to be a
From the
finish.
beginning of the year. Wow.
Yeah.
Or I could give you some of mine.
Good point. Oh, stitch a favorite thing. So I think you were talking about that, because there's lots of, and a favorite thing can be anything.
Like, right, this bottle behind me. It's one of my favorite things.
You can stitch it in January since you're not drinking it.
That's true. And I'll just dream about drinking it. Right.
But your favorite thing could be your dog. It could be your house. It could be
vacation spot.
Yeah, whatever. Last things. Watch a Pointing It Out episode and subscribe to us on YouTube. We like that one.
I got that checked off my box already, right?
You can, yes, that's kind of your free square, like you'd have on bingo if you're already Pointing It Out watching.
Right.
Use either a new tool or maybe one of those tools that you bought because you had to have, and then it kind of fell to the bottom of the tool bag or fell into the project bag that you've forgotten about. Dig out those tools that were going to make your life less stressful and get back to the beginning. Play Stitch Roulette, which I thought was a really fun concept. So it kind of looks like the roulette wheel on the tiny. Well,
you could use your tiny app, or tiny decisions. But I was more picturing like, take a book, flip through it, put your hand down, and on whatever page you pick, you have to do a stitch from that page.
Yeah, so maybe you may need to play Stitch Roulette when you start a canvas. You know what I mean, at the beginning, because if you're locked into a small space at the end,
you could, or you could just say, "Oh, I got to try that stitch. Which one of the canvases in my stash would?"
Or even a doodle canvas.
Oh, there's that too. Yeah, just practicing for sure.
For sure.
And you said doodle. I thought you said duty. Doodle canvas, meaning just a piece of blank canvas that you try things out on.
Create or organize your stitching space. Buy something new, and buy something new doesn't have to be a $300 canvas, but hey, we're here to help you if that's what you want.
It could be a new pair of scissors, it could be a new pair of readers, it could be a new thread, it could be a new canvas, it could just treat yourself.
And the last one, which I absolutely love, is to stitch a counted piece. I think there's a lot of people that have never done that. And I personally, it's a total different way of stitching and a whole different mindset. But I honestly feel like it'll keep us hopefully out of the dementia wards. And I'm not saying that jokingly. Like it's like they tell older people they should be doing crossword puzzles. To me, it's the same thing. Like it really makes you think about your stitching. And it doesn't have to be like those Kathy Reeves pieces. I think you sell her projects. Fabulous, gorgeous, but they're a big commitment on the whole.
We do holiday samplers. They're rather small, but yeah.
But also, they had all those charts for charity back in December. Remember that?
we could probably still, yeah, and that's a counted piece. So I think that Jenny Henry Designs has a lot of counted things coming out, and yeah.
And if you search that hashtag Charts for Charity, I think you'll find them. So there, and most of those were like little ornament pieces.
Mhm.
I think Lauren has maybe even some free ones on her page.
Brooke from Thornton Alexander, is that what you said? Yeah. Yeah, and we should probably do a quick post on how to get started, because I don't even know if people, I came from a cross stitch background, so I have I have a little bit of a plan in place, but it's a little intimidating.
Maybe what we should do is have an episode on counted pieces, and maybe Eileen,
Eileen's the queen of counting. Yeah,
might join you on your end, and we could
good
talk
idea.
about. I mean, I've done some. I would not call myself an expert. I do one every year. Just like I said, I feel like it's really good for your brain. But
brain going, yeah.
I think we do see if Eileen would join us. I'd love it, because I don't get to see her like you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds good. So does that complete? Did you read all 21?
I read all 21. So yeah, we'll post this. Hopefully other people will join us. If not, you and I can duke it out over the prize that I have in mind. So
yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I think I know what you're talking about. So stay tuned, everybody. But so I hope that helps everyone kind of like get their head around their stitching and kind of dream about where you hope to get throughout the year, and get excited about projects. I know I get so excited about new projects, and there's nothing.
I think it's really important too to know that like you can be like totally type A like me and really enjoy it, and you can kind of say, oh, isn't that cute, and not do anything with any of this, but at least it gives you some ideas, and maybe take nothing away from this other than the tiny decision.
Maybe you're so indecisive you don't want to make lists, but at least you'll have an app now to help you make your decisions.
Colors and it spins, so something came out of this.
Yeah, no, I think this is fun, and if not, for me, it's just been fun to kind of like think through all the opportunities that I have and that this hobby gives me. So it's fun. It's fun, and like you said, you can take or not any of these things. So yeah, so stay tuned for more scoop.
Huh? I hope everyone joins us for the challenge.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun. Oh yeah. So stay tuned for more information specific to hashtags for the challenge and how to find the printout. It's just a cute little printout you can have around or electronically. I'm sure you could put it on your phone too. So and we always welcome new ideas, new questions and requests, and so send them our way. And I don't know. Is that it? Happy 2021. I wish I had my champagne and my hat to toast, and I don't.
You're toasting February 1st.
That's it. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you. Great to see you, Melissa.
You too. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. There's a little red button right below, right down there. So
that's right.
Okay.
All right.
Good to see you. You have a great night.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.